353 of Ferg on the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And joining me is let's say, League Freak. You can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going very well, Andrew. I don't know if you know this, but there was a game footy on today.
Yeah, I did watch.
We fucking won it.
Yeah. The Panthers got up over South 14-12 in the Grand Final.
Yep.
And that means Penrith's now the second best team in the comp. Congratulations.
What the fuck did you just say?
Well, this year the West Tigers have outscored Penrith in the games they played 42-36. So obviously Penrith aren't as good as the Tigers. So they're the second best team in the comp. It's a pretty good achievement.
Let me get up way too close to the microphone to say this, okay? Hang on. You shut your cunt mouth.
Can I just say, now that I've got this grand final bullshit out of the way, can we get back to having West Tigers bullshit stories 24/7 back in the media?
I'm just looking forward to the next dude that they sign from like somewhere where you're not actually officially a player, you know?
Yeah, they're always some rugby union player.
Yeah, probably. Hey, they're due for another rugby union player. I remember Sam Harris. He was a good sign.
What a legend.
Yeah. They always sign somebody that's like just out on parole or somebody that's currently like they're not in rehab.
We might sign Jared Hayne.
Jeez. Seriously. If they did, would you be shocked?
No.
Man, it's weird. I don't know what to say. It feels I didn't cry today. I did get a little bit teary, but I didn't cry like I did last week. But it feels like a continuation of last year. It all feels like one journey. And it was a very tense game like we talked about in our preview. And it wasn't over until it was over. And just really happy and I just can't believe it. It was cool to see all those young players. You know, there was a lot of reasons why they could have lost. And there were a lot of people waiting to jump on a bandwagon that was like, oh, they're losers, they're chokers, blah, blah, blah. And they did it. They won. And it was really nice to see them all achieve what they'd really fought hard for. And I tell you what, Souths were so tough. They were so tough.
Look, neither side gave each other that many chances, but the chances they did give, generally, they converted them, if not into points, into very good field position that led to good sets, pressure, and then points. The only one that didn't was the deciding points in the end.
Yeah.
Souths were desperate, and they pushed a pass. Crichton was outnumbered 2-1, so he did what a lot of wingers will do. They play the gap between the final two players and pray to fucking God they don't throw a bloody high ball over the top so you can try and get the intercept. And they did exactly what he wanted. And it was perfect. It was just out in front of him. It wasn't too hard to catch. He took it cleanly, raced away and scored. Did you think when that try was scored that sealed the match?
I was just about to say that when he scored that try, I don't even know who I heard talking about it. Might have been somebody in the lead up to the game on the pre-game. But you know, when it was like 2003 when things happened in 2003. And watching the 2003 Grand Final, you sort of thought, this is going our way, this is going our way, this is going our way. And it was, South had fought right back into it at that point. Penrith had the early going pretty well, and South, I thought, was starting to really get on top a little bit. And then when he took that, I was like, oh, man, I think things are going to go our way. I think we're going to win it. So, yeah, it was... You know, and then South knew they had to chase that down. And against this Penrith defence, chasing down anything is just a nightmare. So
true. But I think, and as we saw, South are the only team who had the ability to throw random stuff at this immense Panthers defence and get through it. Not too many teams have been able to do that. But I just want to have a look back at a few of the points scored. But for me, I reckon Cody Walker's been hard done by for the Clive Churchill medal.
He was damn good.
That first try that he scored.
Yeah.
He saw that opportunity come 2 passes before he got the ball. It was Isaiah Yo. He ran across. He overcommitted on sliding towards the sideline, and Walker looped back around to create the extra man, and then ran back in field where the gap was that Yo created. He made the whole defensive line think, "Yep, they're definitely going left," and then he comes back inside and found that one small gap that was there and shot through it. That's a ballsy play, and he pulled it off. Phenomenal. And then that try that he set up for Johnson in the end. I know it just looks like the same sort of try you see pretty much every week, but when the game's pretty much in the balance and you need to score, you've got to know when to hold that pass up for as long as possible to make sure your winger has every chance possible to score it. And he does that religiously well. I thought he was. I'm hard pressed to say that he was, not the best player on the field. I thought he was probably deserving of the Churchill medal. And not to take anything away from Cleary, he played bloody brilliantly. But
look, when it comes to the Churchill medal, I didn't know. I just defaulted to Cleary. I don't think you can pick any of the Panthers players that stood out. I thought that they were all pretty outstanding. I thought that Crichton might have got it. He was very good in the game.
You didn't want to give it to Edwards?
No, I didn't. he almost had a Paul Carriage performance.
You just waited for it sometimes. The pressure's on. Kick it to Edwards.
He was outplayed by a rookie. And he doesn't worry anyone in attack. Just no one. Doesn't worry anyone. I could tackle Edwards. But look, Walker was great. That intercept, look, you shoot your shots and sometimes you miss, and he's a great, great player. It was one of those games where Souths knew they had to do something to crack Penrith, and it just went the other way. Sometimes that happens. But for the Clive Churchill medal, look, it was really difficult. I thought that I thought that Yao might have got it. There wasn't much between any of the players on the field. I thought most of the players were like within 5% of each other.
Yeah, it was all pretty damn close.
Yeah. So I can't look. They gave it to Cleary. His kicking game once again was just outstanding. His defense.
Everybody knows that's going to happen, and I'm surprised that the South defense let him have so much space because I feel that was the deciding factor.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 or 3 sets in there when Cleary went a bit wider on the last.
Yeah.
It's usually a good sign that he's going to run. And the defense saw that, and they rushed up on him and shut him down pretty fast. And he had to throw rushed passes, and there was just Panthers players just standing around going, why didn't he kick the ball?
Yeah.
And I just wondered why they hadn't been trying to rush him a little bit more often during the game. I know your marker can't get up on him because usually the bloke playing the ball for the Panthers is enough to prevent the markers from getting across to Cleary, but surely someone's going to jump out of the line and at least run up on him and put some pressure on him. Just make him think, make him hesitate.
Teams always find that difficult, and part of me thinks that maybe he's just really good at finding the right amount of space for himself to work in and get that kick,
He is, no doubt.
Yeah.
And that's what sets him free. But you'd think when you're in a grand final, you would find a way to try and, focus on that and try and shut him down a little bit. Not all the time, but just a few times to make him sort of realise that he can't have it all his own way. But he kind of did all game. And the kick pressure that the Panthers put on, the back three whenever they were under the high ball was immense.
Mm-hmm.
That was so huge.
Yeah, it was, and that's one of their things. They're just so frustrating to play against. South was so tough in this game, and they were getting it out of their own half for most of the game. And it's credit that they scored as many points as they did, because Penrith just, when they're on, they strangle teams to death. And I mean, look, I'm a Panthers fan, so I'm going to be biased. But what do you think about this Panthers team, and how good they actually are? They're not a great attacking side. There's no doubt about that. But defensively,
I don't think their attack's that bad, to be honest. I just think last year they were defensively brilliant as well, but no one was talking about that. This year, people have gone, yeah, this Panthers side's pretty good defensively. Going, they have been for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And how are you only just picking up on this now? Is it just because they kept Melbourne to a low score? Have a look. They've been doing the same things this year as they did last year, just better. Mm. Attack-wise, I think they're still very strong. What they did is I think during this final series, Ivan Cleary said, right, what we're going to do is just frustrate teams with our immense defence. Let's not try trick shots all the time and running around everywhere, throwing crazy passes and doing all sort of stuff. Sure, it wins us games, but if we're doing that, sometimes we're going to gas ourselves, and there's a chance that we might be a little bit tired at the end of a game. So they're conservative in attack, pulling out the trick shots when the risk factor is at its lowest, as far as turning the ball over. And so they're finding a good balance. And just, you're not going to like this, but there's an awful lot of the 2016 Sharks grinding nature about the way the Panthers played the finals this year. Mm-hmm. It was all built on defense only, defending in pairs and defending in a straight line. It just frustrates other teams' attacks. Doesn't matter what's going on with the rules. They just find it hard to get through it. And you have to be on the game the whole time, the whole 80 minutes, to find that one or two small opportunities that will arise. And South found the two major ones in this game. Mm-hmm. And if it hadn't been for a straight pass, they've won the grand final.
Yeah. Do you reckon that this is the best defensive team you've seen?
I'll put it like it's one of the top three.
Yeah.
Like I haven't given it much thought, but I can't think of too many that have been better. They will go down the record books as having one of the best defensive records over the course of a season. Mm-hmm. And there are some bloody damn good defensive sides, especially in those early 20 years. There were some teams there that would, they hardly let any points in at all. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, look, I don't think there's been a better defensive team in the NRL era. Mm-hmm. Not even close.
Yeah, because I watch them, and it's not even going by points per game, right? But I just watch the way they wrap the ball player up, and it's, we've seen teams wrap the ball up, but they wrap the entire ball player up. They don't let too many offloads, and their line just is always immaculate. It's just incredible that they've got the stamina to do that for 80 minutes. And because they've got such depth off the bench, you don't get a reprieve. You don't look and say, oh, thank God Fisher Harris is going off. Now we'll at least be able to make some meters. It just doesn't work like that with them. And I think that's one of the things about them. It's just unrelenting. And like looking at their finals run, they got beaten by Souths. They completely strangled the Eels to death. They kind of did a similar thing to the Storm, who were, statistically the best attacking team we've seen. Although I do think that we've both said that's a lot to do with the rule set. I don't think either of us would say they're honestly one of the great attacking teams of all time. And then to come back and beat Souths in the grand final, it's a bloody good run. And when you add it to their run over the last couple of seasons, and even the season before, they were pretty good. It's a pretty immense achievement, especially for a team this damn young. Like, they're so damn young. It's ridiculous. They shouldn't be They shouldn't have the mettle that they do for a team that's this young. You know, they look like a veteran team.
Yeah, they definitely are a very young team. I mean, the average age of this team is 24.45 years old, and not one of them's over the age of 30. They're actually the youngest team to win a premiership since the 2006 Broncos, and they were 24.35 years old.
Oh, wow. It's interesting because that Broncos team didn't really go on to be a dynasty or anything like that, did they?
No, they had a fair few teenagers there. So they had Dave Taylor and Joel Moon, both 18 years old. 19-year-olds, Darius Boyd, Greg Eastwood, Steve Michaels, Carmichael Hunt. You had a couple of 21-year-olds, Sam Sido, Neville Costigan, Ben Hannant, Ian Lacey. And then there's a few 22s and 23s. The only old sort of heads I had there, Darren Lockyer was 29. The legendary Scott Minto was 28. Shane Perry, 29. Sivan Asiva and Tony Carroll, 30. Brad Thorne, 31. And Shane Webke was 32.
I tell you what, something about Scott Minto, he was 28, but he didn't look a day over 47.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Even more impressive. I mean, he played 53 first-grade games. I'm surprised by that.
It's interesting because a lot of them players that you named, that the younger players, quite a few of them, that was probably the peak of their career, weirdly enough. Like Dave Taylor never really got better. In fact, he got worse. Neville Costigan didn't really get better. Carmichael Hunt got better, but then he was gone not too long after that.
He became a fan of coffee, and that sort of ruined him. And then he went and played AFL, and realised that was a shit sport. So then he went and played rugby union, and realised that he's just making bad decision after bad decision at that stage. And then decided to come back to the worst team last year. He's just poor bugger. He got confused and didn't know how to make good decisions anymore.
It's a funny one. I know in 2003, because that Panther side, they did have quite a few veterans in it, but they did have a very young core of players. And I remember thinking this team's going to be good for quite some time. I think one of the things that hurt them is the game's rules changed a little bit on them, and so that hurt them a bit. But the way that they handled their salary cap was abysmal. So that team broke up really, really quickly. This team, it feels like it's going to be together for some time. And, they've made 2 grand finals in a row now. They've won one of them. I worry about what this style of play does to them long term, but it's more their forwards. Their backs should be fine and be able to cope with how they're playing. And their junior base just produces talent. It's crazy how it produces talent. So it's going to be interesting to see over the next few years. Say the next 5 years, what do you think is the marker for the Panthers just making grand finals? If I said, would you bet $100 that they'll make 3 grand finals, what would you say?
See, I'm inclined to take the safe option and say 2, only because it's bloody hard work. It's bloody hard work getting to a grand final, even for a team young and with so much cohesion as this side. I would not at all be surprised if they made 3 or 4 grand finals in the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. But I think 2 is just a safe option.
I agree.
The only issue they're going to have in the next 5 years is hooker, because Coruscant is the second oldest player on the side. It's not that big of a problem, but because he's actually just 28 years old. Mm-hmm. But they don't really have a fallback guy to go to. Their next option for hooker at the moment is kind of makeshift. Mm-hmm. And I think they need to get themselves a good, young, genuine 9. And probably even have him on a rotating sort of system with Coruscant. That's all they've got to work on. I don't think there's a great deal anything else that they need to worry about, because most of their older guys have been sort of bench players or fringe first graders. So Matt Eisenhuth is the oldest player they've got, and he's 29. Mm-hmm. Scott Sorensen and Kirk Capewell, both 28. And then you got Yo and Kikau and Leota, 26. The core of this side is staying together for, at least 5 years if they want to.
Yeah,
and that's impressive.
Yeah, and I think that there's very few teams you see where they would try and stay together because they've known each other for years. Like, they've played football longer together than their first grade careers have been. They've been playing footy together since they were kids.
Yeah.
So I could see where this team is going to take a little bit less to stick together. And they've got so much depth in the forwards that, like, they'll lose Capewell at the end of this year, obviously, because he's going to the Broncos. But they'll cover that. You know, they'll lose Matt Burton and Naden, but they'll cover those. It's crazy to think that this team is so young and it could be the team. It's at least going to be one of the 2 or 3 teams to beat for the next 5 years, barring, catastrophic injuries.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the other thing that's not really been spoken about much is the fact that 23-year-old Nathan Cleary, he's almost 24, has already scored 1,000 career points. At what age do you reckon he surpasses Cameron Smith's total? Because let's be honest, at this rate, it's a given.
Yeah. And, I think at his age, the way he controls this team, his kicking game is, it's in that top echelon all time. I think it's fair to say at this point. I think he probably needs to add those little trick shots in around the post, and we've seen him developing them. And normally that happens when a player's, 28, 29, and they've had many more years under their belt.
They're coming into the peak of their career is what you're getting at there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, he's physically a pretty stable sort of player. He even hurt his shoulder. He played through that just fine. A lot of people were saying, his shoulder. Not once did it seem to be a problem for him. He's going to have off-season surgery on that, and he played through that just fine. It's incredible to think where he will be just in 5 years' time. So, man, it's a pretty bright future for this club, and I try not to look at it from a fan's point of view as much because, you start thinking, we'll win 7 premierships and stuff like this if you do that. But I think that at the very least for the next 5 years, they're going to be one of the harder teams to beat.
Yeah, that's right, and rightfully so. They've made all the right moves. Very impressive squad. I'm wondering if last week's game against Melbourne was a changing of the guard moment. We haven't had too many of them in rugby league history. There was one in the early 50s when St George beat South.
Yeah.
And that was a period when South were winning a ton of premierships in a row before the Dragons got in and started their run of 11 straight. So that was a genuine passing of the torch sort of moment there. Hasn't been too many of them, though, since, because no one's been able to build any sort of genuine dynasty or dynasty, however you want to pronounce it, since then. But this Melbourne Storm has been a bit of a constant.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if now that the big three are all gone, that were the backbone of that, and they didn't get to the grand final this year without them, was that semi-final last week? Was that the passing of the baton, so to speak?
That sounds like the quote that you say just before the Storm have an undefeated season, hey?
Well, that's right.
This is the moment where we go into round one and we say the Storm have named a couple of wingers never heard about. Who's this fullback never heard about? And they just all happen to be playing for Australia by the end of the year.
So Cameron must have had a really bad year last year. Let's just be honest. He's done. And then he comes out next year and Golden Boot, Dally M. He makes Tom Trbojevic season this year look like fucking tiddlywinks.
Craig Bellamy can't coach.
Yeah. Comes out undefeated. First team to do it since 1959.
One of the cool things I think for this Panthers run is that they are losing to the Storm in last year's grand final. And there really was this thing of like, you had this super experienced team that they come up against and they just couldn't do it. And then this year they kind of beat the Storm in a really Storm style of game where the first team to blink loses. And it was the Storm that did it. And, you know, this last 3 games that the Panthers have played in the finals, I mean, not many teams have had 3 games like this in the finals that the Panthers have had, you know.
That's right. And to have won them all, insane.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through their list here. They had twice this year, they conceded 20 points or more.
That's it.
Yep, 37 against Melbourne in round 20 and 26 against, the champion West Tigers side. What more can you say?
Does, is there some sort of compensation that the West Tigers get? Because Cleary would have almost still been under contract with them, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume Potatoes probably asked the NRL if, how's about we have a bit of a deal here, given that obviously Penrith were not good enough to outdo the Tigers for the year. Maybe the Tigers can have the Giltinan Shield. Like Melbourne obviously didn't want it because they were shit in the final, so fuck them, take it off them. Tigers get it, and that can be recognition of the fact that Penrith struggled to be better than them all year.
They could put it in one of their demountables. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I'm sure they've still got some. They've got 2 trophies.
The World Sevens.
Yeah, from 2003 or 4, one of those 2.
I thought it was earlier than that. I thought it was like 96.
No, God, no. They had 2003 or 2004 was one of those 2 years. I think it might have been 2003.
Okay.
They got the sevens there when it first came back briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously the premiership, and then fuck all. Prior to that, I think they won the sevens in the 80s or 90s. They won a midweek cup in there somewhere as well, but that was about it.
I don't remember that one. Speaking of winning trophies, what does this do for the Panthers club in a historic sense? Because I'm not going to pretend that they're winning trophies like, it's medals in the swimming in the Olympics where everyone gets one. But to have won in the 90s, to have won in the 2000s, and now to win in 2021, that's a pretty fair achievement. That shows you didn't just have one good era. That's 3 good eras.
Well, I wouldn't say eras because they didn't really follow on from the previous 2. The first one was tricky because they had the squad to do it, but unfortunate circumstances decimated that club.
Mm-hmm.
The passing of Ben Alexander. So that was massive, and that brought that club to its knees as far as on-field results went. They're still competitive in 92, but that's too much to overcome. And Brisbane were building at a far greater rate of knots. I'm not even sure if Penrith had been able to stay as competitive as they were in 91. I'm not sure if they could have been good enough to keep that Brisbane side at bay. But they may very well have, but it would have been a very close contest.
It almost feels like 2 separate eras, doesn't it?
It does. It's hard to believe that was just a year apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, they, even when they got a chance to sort of, recover from what had happened there and start rebuilding and move forward, the whole Super League war just distracted everyone and just fucked everyone around and stopped all the progression every team was making, all the developments everyone was doing, because everyone was just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2003 just sort of came up out of nowhere, and then kind of like the West Tigers on 05, it's just sort of, oh, that was a nice moment.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened for ages. And then another one comes up, oh, this is right. I think the difference this time around is instead of having, largely a core of players who are experienced. And when I say experienced, I mean, they're in their mid to late 20s or getting into their 30s.
Mm.
This squad is largely under the age of 26.
Yeah.
So they've got easy 5-6 years to play together if they all agree to stay there and get better. That's the thing. They've all got improvement in them. They're not at their peak.
No.
That's still to come. That's the impressive part here. And I think that's what's different. And there's not many teams that have been similar to this. I think the 2005 West Tigers had a similar breakdown of ages. I think they might have had one player who was 30 years old, which is one more than what Penrith had. But the rest of it were about the same. The average West Tigers team age in 05 was 24.55. Penrith is 24.45 this year. So similar makeup. But I think Penrith's obviously got a lot better pathways behind it to try and ensure that they stay in this moment and they remain one of the heavyweights, not just for the next 2 or 3 years, but for a long time coming. And that's the difference compared to the previous two premiership winning sides, in my view.
Yeah, I guess what I meant with like different eras, like you look at the Knights in the late 90s, you can rack up their 2 premiership victories to a core of players that were kind of together for a little bit, whereas the 3 Panthers premierships, they're 3 distinct teams. There was no overlap really between those teams at all.
No, the first one was full of absolute legends. I barely know of anyone who was in the 2003 side. And this side has got a ton of future champions in it. Yeah.
I guess the ability of the team to do it 3 different times, 3 completely different times, like that's something that's pretty special as well for me. And as you say, this team's, if they stay together, they're going to be really hard to beat for a while. And look, Nathan Cleary should still be a pretty bloody good player in 10 years from now. He'll be a veteran. He'll be towards the end of his career. But then he's going to be, he'll
be 32, 33. I reckon there's a fair chance he might decide to be the first player to do 20 seasons.
Well, if you look at, say, a Cameron Smith, right, and he was able to do it, and you look at the natural progression of how long certain players' careers can go for, like once upon a time, you hit 30, you were done, Yeah, now that number seems like it's a little bit higher for certain players. Like you look at a Benji Marshall, he's still a good player. There's been a lot of players that we've seen in the last even 10 years where they've been able to play closer to their 40s than their 30s.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people don't realise this, but someone like Wayne Pearce, I'm thinking he was very close to 29 or 30 years old when he retired. And he's known as being one of the fittest players to ever play the game.
And the classic one is Reg Gasnier. I think he was 27 when he retired.
Yeah, well, I think he might have just turned 29. Because I think I heard something along the lines that he and Mark were about the same age when they retired.
Oh, really?
I'll just check that. But yeah, Wayne Pearce was 30 in 1990, his last season.
Like, how old was Peter Sterling when he retired? I feel like he would have been like 31, maybe.
Gasnier, 28 when he retired. Oh, okay. Between the two of us. Sterlo? Yeah, that poor bugger. I mean, his shoulders just gave in on him.
Yeah.
He had a pretty long career, though. Was it 14, 15 seasons? Because he played one game in 91, then just 3 games in 92.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of all of the long final series he played as well. Like, that was a meat grinder he went through.
So he was 32 when he retired.
32, okay.
Brett Kenny was 31 in 1992.
Okay.
That's the thing. You think of these players thinking, Brett Kenny in 1992. He was getting on by then. Yeah, he's 31. Spring chicken. He's just at his peak.
Well, that's the thing. Like, these players used to be... Like, Brett Kenny was an old man when he retired, you know? And, the 31-year-old now, like, you look at Adam Reynolds. He got a long-term contract from the Broncos. You look at Cameron Smith. He played until he was, like, 39 or something like that, 38, 39.
Yeah. Paul Gallen as well.
Yeah, asterisk. An
asterisk? What on earth for?
Just saying. I think Steve Menzies played until he was 41 over in England, or for the Catalan Dragons anyway.
Has he stopped playing?
Yeah, I think he stopped playing a couple of years ago, I'm pretty sure.
James Maloney's like 43. How good is that bloke, though? Seriously. I mean, he's just got another team to a premiership decider.
Yeah, it's crazy, hey. It's just insane how he goes places and he makes them better. Look at when he went to Penrith, he made us better. And I think that there's he definitely took us from being like we had some handy players to we're in the race. And we didn't get close to winning the premiership when he was here. But we got into the race with him. And that was a big step.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. He's going to be one of those players that will not be remembered as being as great as he actually is.
Mm.
Which is a bit disappointing. But, brilliant player.
Yeah, he is. We should watch that game live next week, hey?
The Super League Grand Final?
Yeah. I'm
definitely keen to do that.
Okay, I'd be keen to do it. I'm willing to augment my timeline to watch that game.
Yeah, we will. We'll have to stay up late for that one.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking, what time would that kick off?
Oh, I don't know, probably midnight.
You reckon? I hope it's not a 6 a.m. kickoff. That would suck. If
I
might
find that. Let's have a look.
If it's a 6 a.m. kickoff, I'm out.
Likewise, because fuck that, I'm asleep then.
Yeah.
That's one of the 4 hours where I'm asleep.
That's one of the, feels like 7.5 hours where I'm lying in bed trying to sleep.
Let's have a look. It'll be on in 3 hours from now. It's going to be about a 4 p.m. kickoff, a 4 a.m. kickoff.
That's a rough one.
Fuck that.
Yeah, we might not be able to do that. You know, it would be cool for the Panthers to invite the Catalan Dragons over if they want to play the World Club Challenge. I wouldn't want the Panthers to go over there, and I would want it to be the last game leading into the NRL season. Otherwise, all bets are off because I don't care about the World Club Challenge one bit. The Panthers are the best team in the world. We know that.
Penrith should genuinely just let a bunch of their young guys have that experience and let Catalans win, just so the Catalans can go, hey Saints, like this World Club Challenge thing, it's a piece of piss. Like, why do you keep losing all the time? We're now the best team in the world. You were just chumps. That'd go down well, wouldn't it?
That's a bit rough.
It's a bit rough.
Just because James Graham has like so many runners-up medals, that's really rough, Andrew.
He loves them.
He does. I heard him on the radio today.
Yeah.
When I was going out, I bought $100 worth of alcohol, right? And I reckon I drank maybe $9 worth of it. I got excited.
You're pacing yourself.
Yeah.
You've got a whole week of celebrations ahead of you.
I do. But yeah, I heard him on the radio, like giving his thoughts on the game, and it was just weird to think that, like, you hear this guy and he's talking calm about the game, and it's like, this is a guy that tried to bite Billy Slater in a grand final, and didn't just try and bite him, like searched him out and like was going like at him with his open mouth to bite him. It was really
that's right. Yeah, he was keen on having main course. Yeah, fuck entree. I'm not here to fuck spiders. I'm here to have a feed.
Oh,
I gotta say, I love fucking James Graham as a player. That was a grubby thing, but I did quite enjoy watching him play.
I did.
You don't get too many prop forwards so you can enjoy watching him play, but for me he was one of them.
Look, any day you can get somebody over from England that's half translucent, looks like Fat Prince Harry, and covers himself in Vaseline because he thinks it'll get one over his opponents.
Oh, mate, that's retro. You gotta love that.
Yeah, you do. You gotta love it. Now the Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs lose Adam Reynolds. They lose Wayne Bennett. They're going to get Latrell Mitchell back. What do we think about them? Like, has their window closed?
I don't think it has fully yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not so long as you've got Cody Walker in that side.
Mm-hmm.
He is so important to them, but he's not slowing down. He's not getting worse. If anything, he's going the other way. He's getting better. So I still think they've probably got at least another three seasons in them where they're going to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams, and it's still capable of potentially winning a premiership in there somewhere. So I don't think their window is shut, but I do worry about what they're going to look like in 5 years' time, because I think a lot of their squad they've got at the moment will have moved on, and I'm not too sure what they've got coming through in the juniors behind that. There's going to be a lot of pressure on their new coach to make that transition as quickly as possible, so that when the current crop start moving on, he's got a bunch of really good players coming through, and they've got that bit of experience and they're ready to go to keep that momentum going that they've created now. Because that was the problem after 2014. They struggled to keep that momentum going.
Yeah.
They weren't crap, but I think they've missed the finals the year after, or 2 years later, something like that. So they want to try and make sure that at their worst case scenario now is that they keep making at least top 6 every year, while they start bringing through new players and getting them in there. Because I think that's key for them.
I think the other big question for them is what happens with Benji Marshall. Because if he decides not to retire, I feel as though the thing for South would be to say to Benji, it was fantastic having you here. You did the exact job we wanted you to do, but we need to look towards our future, as you said. And I think that keeping him there in that role that he's in, I think that delays that future that they've got to work towards. But in that case, then where does Benji Marshall go? And like, I know we've talked about this before, that he would be perfect for a team like the Eels, just to be an option. And see him go somewhere where they've got a pretty good team and it would just be a handy option to have. Like, I don't think anyone's going to sign him as a full-time 5'8" or halfback or anything like that. But the role that he's got off the bench, I think there are a few teams that would find him a handy player in that role.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Benji calls it quits at the end of this season.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think there's a great deal of options available to him, because fairly certain he doesn't want to leave Sydney. And he looks like he's starting to build a pretty decent media profile for himself already. And that's all going to be based in Sydney as well. So, and I know he's got a young family, so I don't think he's going to want to move. And I don't think there's any Sydney clubs that genuinely want, not say want, they're generally not going to need his services. So I think he's going to struggle to find a team.
The only thing I could see with him is if, and I'm biased, but if a team like the Panthers say to him, look, we're looking for somebody that'll be around during Origin, that is just an experienced head that can maybe come in and help some of our younger players, not necessarily in the first grade team, but more their junior players, and be a mentor along those lines. But then say to him, this is a role that we would want him to continue going forward after his playing career, and maybe say to him, look, we're a Western Sydney club. We could use you on the field this next year coming up at points, but we would love you to be some sort of ambassador for the game going forward at the Panthers, which is something that really you'd hope that the West Tigers would be saying to him as well. But I think that the Panthers could offer him kind of a package sort of thing, which I think would be good for the Panthers. And I could even see where later on in the season they keep him on the bench in sort of that Tyrone May role, where he just comes on as a playmaker, and where Tyrone May gets in the way and stops everything. I could see where Benji Marshall could add a bit of a wrinkle to their attack, which would be a little bit scary at times if he still had it.
Yeah, I agree. It's me personally, I'd just like to see him play 4 more games just to get to 350.
That would be cool.
Because I don't think anyone would have thought he'd get to 300 NRL games, let alone to be pushing 350. And I don't think it's right that he has to sit behind that whinging prick Corey Parker and Paul Gallen. He should be ahead of those on the most games played list. He deserves to be ahead of them.
I agree.
And he's bludged through some horrible seasons. The least we can do is let him have 350 NRL games. So let him go to whatever club he wants. Let him go to 4 different clubs. And he can play 1 game for each of them and just get match payments till he gets to 350.
What do you reckon Benji would do if he got a call from Craig Bellamy? I know he would like to stay in Sydney, but if Craig Bellamy said to him, listen, I want you for 10 games next year. Just be physically ready for 10 games. I know you got the experience, and I know I don't have to worry about whether you can do the job, but I just want you ready for 10 games. Fly down here, midweek.
I reckon he'd probably take it.
Yeah, so do I.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
I mean, not many people can say that they've been coached by Tim Sheens, Craig Bellamy, Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, true.
So you'd be able to put all those there. And then amongst all of those 3 great coaches, you can also say, I was also coached by some real Muppets as well. Mix it up a bit. Paul McGregor. What else do you have?
Mick Potter.
Mick Potter.
Yeah.
Did he have Jason Taylor? I think he did.
I think he did. Yeah.
No, he missed the Jason Taylor years.
Did he really?
Yes, he had Ivan Cleary.
Okay.
Michael Maguire. Wayne Bennett at 2 different clubs.
I feel like the Jason Taylor period in your head is way longer than it was in reality. Hey?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it lasted 17 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, when that started, Robbie Farah was a sprightly young, 19-year-old. And when it ended, I'm sure he was like this withering old 36-year-old man. 17 years seems about legit.
We haven't talked about it yet. How about Ivan Cleary starts his career off at the Warriors, turns them into something, and you wondered when he left them whether, he made that move to Penrith and it seemed like a good move. And then Phil Gould said he was tired and sacked him. I don't know why. I don't understand that. Oh. And you kind of wondered if it was all a bit of a mirage, if it was just a moment that he captured at the Warriors, which has happened. Like Daniel Anderson's another one that he's kind of captured a moment at the Warriors. But then he come back to Penrith when Phil Gould got rid of Anthony Griffin and quickly reestablished himself, and they got rid of Phil Gould pretty quickly, which I thought was a sign that the power had shifted at Penrith. Now he's a premiership winner, and even more so, he's a premiership winner over Wayne Bennett, which I think carries a little bit of something, I
was actually going to ask, does this now mean that he's now a better coach than Brian Smith?
That's a good question.
You know how it was a week or 2 ago? They kept going on about Brian Smith all the time and how he was crap because he never won a title, even though he did so much amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's a real... Because Brian Smith was good with like Brian Smith. People don't realise he had a really good coaching career before he got to the Dragons, and then those Dragons teams ran into a Broncos team, which, as we just said, unbelievable Broncos team.
Yeah.
And then he left them and built something at Parramatta, which at the time is crazy because Parramatta were nothing when he got there. I think Brian Smith was just unlucky.
Oh, absolutely was. Absolutely was. I think he's horribly underrated as a coach.
If Michael Hagan was lucky, Brian Smith was exactly the same amount of unlucky.
+1.
Yeah. Like if Brian Smith, I think it's fair to say, probably the best coach to never win a premiership.
Yeah, I'm willing to go with that.
Who would we say is the best coach since in the modern era, the 10-metre era? Who was the worst coach to win a premiership?
Oh, that's a good one. Paul Green. That takes some beating.
I'd take Paul Green over Michael Hagan.
Oh, gee, I don't know. There's very little between them, but Paul Green had zero imagination in attack and struggled to create a cohesive defensive unit.
And the thing about it is that once he lost Thurston,
yeah,
that's
he realised that Thurston helped Taumalolo's game, and when he lost Thurston, he kind of lost some of that impetus that Taumalolo had, and he had no idea how to build a game plan on it. And so he started leaning on Michael Maguire, who was doing a pretty good job, but he then gets injured. It's like, okay, now he's stuffed.
And there's something to be said too about a coach that, and like I don't put this on the Cowboys organization weirdly enough. I put it on Paul Green that team was just kind of left to rot away because he had a team that he knew had premiership credentials for a couple of years there. But then there was a point where it was like he needs to add something to this, and he didn't, and it just sort of faded into the nothingness.
Yeah, it's
that's not a good sign.
No, that's not a good sign. There is another elephant in the room that we haven't discussed in that list.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Elliott.
Yeah, but he hasn't won a premiership.
Well, in his mind, he might have done.
Yeah, but who knows what is controlling his mind at the time?
The tea leaves title.
Do you reckon Matthew Elliott tonight turned to someone and said, I told them to sign that young bloke as part of my premiership?
No, but I reckon Phil Gould did.
Oh, were you listening to Channel 9?
Yes.
Oh, it was rough. But there
was a moment there where there was just one basic rule, which has been in the rule for a while, where if you don't play at the ball when you're tackling someone who's kicking the ball, then it doesn't count as coming off you. It's been the rule since a long time.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was the rule when Phil Gould was playing. And he just called it stupid.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9 times. And Joey, who's got no idea how to think for himself, just started saying stupid randomly, like Brick Tamlin on Anchorman, just starts chiming in with random words. He just copies Phil Gould because that's what he says. Loud noises.
That Penrith got the ball back from that. They went through a set of 6, forced a line dropout by Souths, got the ball back, and when they got the ball back on that line dropout, they were still going on about how stupid the rule is.
Yeah, they kept saying stupid over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And when they couldn't think of anything, they just said the word stupid.
And then there was a moment in the game early on where Jai Arrow runs on, and in the first minute he starts losing the ball as he's falling to the ground, and kick out comes in to cover up the tackle, and kick out clips the top of his head.
Yes.
He was maybe a foot off the ground. It was one of those accidents.
Yeah,
but he was put on
kick out's arms were down low.
Yeah, like it was literally maybe a foot off the ground. Well, it was one of those accidents was put on report which is what should happen, right?
Yep.
A similar thing then happens later on in the match, and Phil Gould and Andrew Johns are blowing up about it, saying,
no.
in every other game, this would have been 10 in the bin. This should be a penalty. What's going on here? And it's like the same thing happened in the same game and you left it. You didn't care about it. It was so silly. It was their commentary on Channel 9 has been absolutely atrocious and getting worse. And like people were saying that Phil Gould is biased towards the Panthers in games that the Panthers playing. I can tell you as a Panthers fan, I don't sit there going, "Ooh, he's on our side." All I think is, my God, I wish he would shut the fuck up.
Yeah, look, I think last week, I think the calls for him being a bit biased towards Penrith were obvious, but in the grand final, no, he got rid of all of that. He just replaced it with saying stupid a lot. He then made a bit of a comment towards the end of the game where he said, "No, the refereeing has been very good in this game. It's just the rules that are the problem."
I tell you another really funny one was he goes to the sideline at one point and he said, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Jonathan Thurston or Cameron Smith. He asked this. He said, is there any word on if Benji Marshall's going to come on the field at any point, just as Benji Marshall received the ball? I was like,
I do remember that.
What the fuck are they doing? Like, can they just call the game that they're watching and not the game they think is going on in their heads?
Oh no, they have just
that was rough. I've not had to go sit through Channel 9 commentary all year because I barely saw any of the Origin this year. So yeah, I've not had to endure much of Channel 9 at all this year. And every time you watch it, you go, I can see where I've got Foxtel now.
Mm-hmm.
This is so shit.
I will say this though, Ray Warren called the game pretty well.
Yeah, he did.
There's been times where Ray Warren, you kind of thought, remember he retired 3 years ago, still calling games, but good luck to him, But he called the game pretty well. And then I watched a lot of the coverage afterwards. And at one point, Channel 9 did a 5-minute advert saying how good Channel 9 was, which I thought was really weird. Only Channel 9 could do that. They're so far up their own arse. They think that that's a thing,
Oh my God.
That's pretty. Actually, we should do that.
We should do a podcast where we talk about how good we are. We do voiceovers and stuff.
Yeah. And how about this podcast?
Exactly.
How about these blokes?
We're not just the leaders. We're the one the leaders look towards.
Yeah. We're the
leaders of the leaders.
Yeah.
We're the leaders.
We're the people that welcome the people that think they're first.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that they think the term wide world of sports means something. It's like, hello, it's not 1978 anymore.
That was a good show back in the 80s.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah, and even early 90s. It was a good show.
When you had 3 channels.
Yeah. I quite liked that back then. But, it turned to shit. Now it's just a bunch of old blokes bitching and moaning.
Yeah.
And every now and then they'll get a female athlete on there. It's like, just sit there and be pretty, love. Let the blokes talk. You're like, Jesus Christ, why'd you bother with that for?
We need somebody that's an old up themselves fuckwit who can just yell and scream and cry and who can wear a bandana.
Yeah, that's right. Someone who can cover all those boxes would be perfect. If you can check at least, all but one of those, we'll be fine with that. We can get you a bandana.
I just had a thought. You know how O.J. Simpson was nicknamed the Juice?
Yeah.
I was just thinking there's a panelist that goes on that wide world of sports every so often who I think we should nickname the Juice.
The Juice.
Yeah.
Former player?
Yeah.
Premiership winner?
Yeah, I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, state captain?
Yeah, I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I may have mentioned his name earlier.
Yeah, I won a lot of money on him. Remember there was those years and he was playing like Superman. Like he just was able to play for harder and longer than most other players found capable of. The best players in the world.
What do you reckon that was?
It's just spirit. Just fucking spirit.
That little game of entrapment didn't go too well.
No, you tried.
I tried.
You're always trying to needle me, aren't you?
Just a little. See, I thought, fuck the garden pile. Let's just go straight for entrapment, see what happens.
Oh shit! But yeah, I want a lot of money on him getting man of the match in State of Origins time after time, and I guess something could come out of it.
Yeah. Well, obviously you've used those winnings to prop up some Ponzi coin purchase.
I have. By the way, my Ponzi coin's going good, hey?
Fantastic. Man, everything's just roses for you at the moment, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say that, Andrew. Jesus.
Ponzi coin's going good. Your team's just won the grand final.
Yeah, there are some good things that have happened this month.
What else is more important than that?
Yeah. I can't believe they're the premiers. I can't believe I get to, celebrate them being the premiers and be able to say, my team's the best team. It doesn't feel real.
Doesn't feel real?
No.
What you should do is see if you can get a bit of a one-on-one with Ivan and just say, have you got any messages for the West Tigers fans?
Wouldn't that be funny? It's just one last word. Have you got something to say to Justin Pascoe? Imagine if he just said, tell Justin Pascoe. Go fuck yourself, buddy. Or if he said something, what would, imagine if you come out and said, the best thing I ever did in my life, even more important than having Nathan, was leaving the West Tigers.
What he should do is just go and grab Nathan's premiership ring.
Yeah.
Put it on the finger next to his own premiership ring. Mm-hmm. And then just go along to Pascoe one day and say, hey, Justin, what noise does a telephone make? And hold his hand up and go, ring, 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 ring. Oh, sorry, you don't get that joke. You don't have any, do you? Fucking dickhead. And just walk away.
It would, you just know that Justin Pascoe was pissed off tonight, eh?
Oh, yeah, he was rage watching the grand final.
Yeah.
You sit there and go, at least we've got money in the bank.
Yeah. Have you seen our bottom line? Our bottom line's great.
Yeah, it helps when you've got a billionaire who loves the club. You can just siphon a bit of coin off every now and then when things are going poorly. Just give him a few side jumpers, you'll be fine.
Listen, outside of the football side of things, the football club is going great.
Yeah, outside results and success, the club's going great guns.
I know it does. I know from an uneducated point of view, seems like the losing and the embarrassment and all of that, it doesn't look good. But when you know, it's actually going really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So long as I keep my job, then that's a good sign that everything's going well. Sure, I've put myself in a position where I can't get sacked. But again, that's success, isn't it?
One thing you got to know about Justin Pascoe, he doesn't have ups and downs. He's just kind of a chill guy, mostly because he has a job for life.
Yeah. I wonder if he likes coffee.
Oh, shit.
A lot of coffee drinkers, they sort of get on the same sort of plateau.
You're not going to Damien Keogh him, are you?
God, no. Fuck, that's a good idea. What's his number?
Oh, shit.
Damo, buddy, mate. Mate, I've got I know a bloke. Not a few, actually. Hang on, I've got a long list.
Oh, shit.
That's an idea.
Well, I look forward to Justin Pascoe sitting down and counting our crowds next year. That'll be cool. It'll be, You know what? I was talking to Nadine the other day, and I was saying that I think the Panthers should get the team on an open top bus and just drive all around Western Sydney, and like put the path that they're going to go down, and let people know we're going to all of these places. We're going to drive past with the trophy. I think that would be really cool. As long as no one fell off the bus, that would make it a bit rough.
I think they should spend 3 days
Yeah.
driving around every single street they possibly can in the whole Penrith region.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they've done that and they've exhausted that and they've got themselves enough grog on the bus
Mm-hmm.
to help them to go through the next 2 days, they should then just get to Campbelltown, drive around out there, in that whole region, the Macarthur region, that'd be good. And then head in towards, Liverpool, Bankstown, Parramatta. Have a quick detour through Parramatta, maybe head out the Rosedale sort of way, and then just turn the bus around and come back out again.
Do you know, that reminded me, I saw an article today that was on the ABC website, and they were talking about how the Panthers are a feel-good story in Western Sydney, because according to the ABC, like, Western Sydney's basically Baghdad, we're a war-torn part of the world that nothing good ever happens in. And they were saying how, like, it's a feel-good story that the Panthers are going so well, and because if you go to Auburn, they've been in lockdown, and I'm thinking, fucking Auburn? That's not Panthers territory. These fucking people in Auburn don't care about the Panthers. They've got their own team.
Do people in Auburn even watch rugby league?
They might do, but fucking, it'd take me fucking 50 minutes to drive to Auburn. It's not fucking Western Sydney, dumb
What do you know about
cunts.
lockdown for? We had an article in the stupid rag down here saying that we've set the record for the most days in lockdown in the world.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's been great.
Well, at least the numbers of they're exploding down there. So
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We had the record. You pricks took it off us, so we went, well, fuck you, we'll take it back.
Coffee, art, and most lockdowns, and the record for COVID cases.
Yeah. That's
All
what
the
we do.
important things. Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're just the best.
Just ask them.
Just ask them. Where's the best place to live? Victorians? Oh, it's definitely in Victoria, but I don't want to fucking live here under dictator damn. We're leaving somewhere else. But they never leave.
It's funny when we get listeners that are like, wait a minute, Andrew's in Melbourne?
Yeah, it's let's put it this way. I've got extensive knowledge of this area, hence why I don't like it so much.
Oh man. I reckon that the grand final will have rated its ass off, hey?
Yes. I'm also just reminded too of a quote by an esteemed rugby league journalist from a few weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Kent.
Yes.
I believe he said about Penrith, they're done.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, good work.
Oh man.
Just thought I'd better get that in there and get that on the record so no one forgets.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul Kent. He's if only he had the same foresight as Phil Gould does.
Yeah, or mind you, no one does.
No, just ask Phil Gould.
If Nostradamus was still alive today, he'd look at Phil Gould and just go, I think I might just go and do some carpentry or something instead.
If Nostradamus was alive today, Phil Gould would have known him when he was a young bloke.
He would have taught him.
Yeah, he would have taught him everything he knew. Well, this is the end of the NRL season, but we've got more footy coming up. We've got obviously the Super League Grand Final, and then we've got some internationals over there in the Northern Hemisphere. I believe there was actually a game played last night between the Netherlands and Germany, which I'm pretty sure the Netherlands won pretty comfortably.
There was, yes. I didn't get a chance to watch that one, though, because
No.
bloody tired. So I missed that one. But, yeah, I think there's still a few more to come. Not just by England either, which is good. So we will try and tune into those as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly even try and do some live episodes there because we haven't done one of those for a while.
Yeah, and like other podcasts, they have off seasons. We don't believe in that bullshit.
Nah, we don't do off seasons.
Nah.
Because we know that the people don't want us to have an off season.
Yeah, and I mean, the off season is when we track who the West Tigers have signed for next year.
Yeah, I mean, that hasn't even started yet. We're still in the current season.
We've still got a couple of months before they start their recruitment drive.
That's right. And 2022 doesn't start until the West Tigers have had a convincing win in the trials.
Yeah.
That's when the new season starts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers play Penrith in the trials and the Tigers beat Penrith like 48-20 or something like that in the trials.
Mm-hmm.
Just fucking lock us down for a premiership right there.
And then that game will reignite the grudge match.
Oh, let's be honest. The grudge match is now cast in stone. It's never going to go away. Every match will now be a grudge match.
Mm-hmm. I know when I'm looking at next year's draw when that comes out, I will circle where the West Tigers games are. And then I'll look at teams like, the Bunnies and the Storm and that. Like, what happens when your team is the best and you look at the if I'm thinking next year, who are the teams that I want to see us matched up against that's a really good matchup? I obviously think the Storm. The Rabbitohs I don't think will be as good next year. And then the Eels feel like we've got the wood over them. Like who else do you sort of circle?
Well, I mean, you are struggling against the Tigers, so clearly you need 2 games there.
Yeah.
I mean, you needed 2 games this year to finally get a win against the Tigers, so that's a given. Maybe even 3, actually maybe 4 games against the Tigers. But let's just do the whole Super League approach and just have, let's just have fucking derbies every second week. Yeah, we've only got 12 teams. We should only be having 22 rounds, but fuck it. Let's have 29 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone plays each other twice, and then just have another 7 random games where we just play a derby again.
I was actually thinking about this during the week. If we got enough teams, you could play each other once and then just swap the home and away games back to back each season, Yeah, so exactly. Say this year the West Tigers have the home game. Next year the Panthers would have the home game. But I feel like people would still complain about that.
Well, yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Because people like to complain by nature. It's just what they do.
They really do, don't they?
Especially when their team's lost.
Yeah. Well, I've got nothing to complain about right now because my team is the best rugby league club on planet fucking Earth.
And so's mine.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. On the surface, my team seems like the best club on earth, right? But that's only if you go by wins.
Yeah, if you go by wins and facts.
Success. Yeah, facts, statistics.
If you go by facts,
yeah.
Penrith, sure, they've won the grand final, the last match of the year, the biggest match of the year.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a positive record against every single team, are you really the best side in the competition?
Good point.
And as I said on Twitter, the Tigers are still the best team. Someone just decided to remind me, so what about this game against the Bulldogs where the Tigers lost 38-0? And the response to that is, well, that means that Penrith are not as good as the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
So now they've got 2 other teams they need to beat.
You're a statistician. I can't argue with any of this.
Yeah, they're just falling further and further down the list. I mean, why do they even play in the grand final?
Exactly.
What a waste of time.
It's like the championship belt concept where you've got to win the belt.
Yeah, that's right. And now you've just got to unify them all.
Yeah.
All different weight divisions. So, I mean, that's where we're at.
I'm comfortable with that situation. I'll cop that.
Yeah, are you going to head down to the main drag around Penrith and catch up with all the players and get shit-faced in public and all that sort of stuff tomorrow?
I'm going to see. I'm curious to see how this all works, because how long's it going to take for the Panthers players and everyone to get back down here? I don't know. And then the club has surely got to do something, but what do you do? Because you can't really encourage people to come out. Although, because the lockdown's coming out of being a lockdown soon, I guess there is some capacity for them to say, like, they are able to do something. Do you do a parade down Mulgoa Road? I don't know. If there is a parade or something, I'd probably do that. I tell you what, I'll keep an ear out, because Nadine's right on top of all of the stuff that happens with the Panthers. So if she says to me, like, get your ass to Mulgoa Road in, 20 minutes, I'll be doing that. So I'll be ready to rock and roll. But, and
record some shit.
Yeah, I will. I'll
interview some drunken units.
I'll try. That could be a little bit scary, but I will try. My main hope is that I could actually get there and get away without getting into a crash with the drunken idiot.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one.
That's the main one.
Don't know how you get around that. Maybe just get a sneeze occasionally in public. That should at least thin out the numbers of the public a little bit.
Just start coughing really hard. Imagine being surrounded by hundreds of...
the old COVID's playing up again.
Just double over coughing. Can you imagine how many people would just get out your way?
There's an idea.
Yeah.
That could work. I might try that on the train tomorrow.
I can't believe that we won the premiership, Andrew. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I believe I did tip Penrith to win.
You did. I tipped them as well.
Yeah, I may have said it was going to be a bit of a wider margin though, or more points scored.
You said more points scored. I think, man.
I think I said of 22 to 18.
Yeah, yours was a little bit higher than I said from memory, but maybe we can go back and have a look at that.
It's someone else's job now.
Yeah, it's all part of history.
Episodes.
Let's just forget about it, like everything Paul Kent says.
Exactly. We're gonna have to do an Ask Kenty episode soon now.
That would be good, yeah. Well, first question we could ask Kenty: do you even watch the fucking games, bruh?
Yeah. Are your eyes painted on?
Oh, by the way, I'm going to have to buy a replica NRL trophy. I decided, because I've got a replica NBA trophy from when the Rockets won their two titles, so I need an NRL one now.
Yeah, and you can just get 3 little plaques on there for the 3 years that the Panthers have won title.
That would be very cool, hey?
Fuck everybody else's plaque off.
Yeah, just flick them off. Flick them into the bin.
Yeah.
Flick them into the bin like they're fucking toenails.
That's the way.
Yeah.
I like that theory. Alrighty. We've kind of wrapped it on a little bit towards the end.
Yep, it's been fun.
That's a good sign that we need to wrap this turkey up.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Well done on a premiership victory, mate. I know you may not think that you've done anything, but you certainly did.
Thank you. I take most of the credit.
As you should.
I love that there were so many people that congratulated me. Some of them who have heard me like basically ranting for hours at a time when the Panthers were at their very worst, when they had Matthew Elliott as a coach. And so it was cool to see them message me and stuff like that. It's weird. We've been doing the podcast when the Panthers have been pretty good, so it kind of hasn't come across on the podcast. But I have sat through some terrible seasons. I remember sitting through every single game of the season when we won the wooden spoon in 2001, and we had a really bad team, and I remember thinking, man, this sucks. And so I don't take any of this for granted, and I feel very blessed. And after what's been a rough probably month now, because I lost Mason about a month ago, it's very suddenly, my dog Mason, who you heard on this podcast.
Snoring.
You heard him snoring, yeah.
In the early days.
That tore my heart out, but this Panthers run has really been something pretty special. So, yeah, it's been good.
Alrighty. Well, I'll let you go find out where you're going to get that replica trophy from.
Yeah, because I don't know. If anyone's got a suggestion, tell me.
If you can't find one, I hear there's one on the back of a car going around Mulgoa Road, so you might be able to pick one up down there.
It's not like the one that was around in the early 90s that you found on the side of the road.
I think the top half part of it is.
Yeah.
It's probably still got the scratches on it from where it landed on the ground.
Remember they wrapped the bottom of it in like a t-shirt or a towel or something?
It's wrapped in a towel so that no one could see that they lost the bottom half of it. Fucking brilliant.
Oh, shit.
The stories that trophy could tell.
I know, right? It's kind of weird that it's now different trophies. Like everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, really, isn't it?
Part of it is, but I get it. I was actually, man, this podcast is going to go for 3 hours. I was watching a video about the Stanley Cup and how they had the main trophy and then they had a replica trophy made of it, but they're very careful about like keeping the integrity of the replacement trophy as something that people look up to and things like that. It was really cool, but at the same time, it's cool to go into a leagues club or somewhere. I saw that the one that the West Tigers won in their demountable, and it like to see the trophy that they won. It is cool. It is very cool. So I can't be too upset about that.
No, that's right. I do get fascinated though by the fact that these trophies made out of metals are handled with such careful hands and they're so gentle with them. I thought, is it really worth winning if it's that fragile? Not that much of a cup, is it?
It's like the America's Cup was like that, and then someone beat the shit out of it. And so that was a bit of a problem. And then we had of course, the Rugby League World Cup trophy, which was found in a ditch.
Well, let's be honest, that thing's been treated like shit for a long time.
Oh, really?
Found in someone's attic. It got lost in the mail in Australia.
Someone found it in a ditch and thought, oh, it's a wrestling trophy.
Yeah.
And they started ringing around and then they found out, oh, it's the Rugby League World Cup.
Oh, it's something.
By the way, Andy Marshalls, right? He won our tipping competition. Andy, we got something that we're sorting out for you.
Oh, yeah, man. We're going to look after you.
We haven't forgot you, man.
No. You might have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's going to be worth it, buddy.
It really will. It really will. It's very cool what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Right, we should just wrap this one up. Everyone knows where to get in touch with us. We'll let you all go to bed. Enjoy Penrith's victory. And we'll have another episode coming up sometime, probably later this week.
We sure will. Go the mighty Panthers, champions.